glasses? Ooh.
I like both, so it's your call. So, lady, I'd like to welcome Bebe Buell here. My name's Erik, and I'm here with Punk Globe magazine. And I like both. I think we could toggle between the two.
All right, so this is off. I'm going to do on so I can see you well. You've got a beautiful back. I'm sorry, I'm in front of my kitchen, everybody, but it is a pretty fabulous kitchen.
It's a pretty fabulous kitchen. Yes. So I'm actually a huge fan of glasses. So
Good. Me too.
partially because they help me see, but I think they make me look smarter. So, it's as a teacher, that's always an advantage that I have.
Yes, yes. Well, glasses, they add what they add at the given moment they're needed.
And I think they're a great style thing. I mean, they're fun because you can change a lot with a lens. So, um, thank you for being here today. I'm really excited about this. You know, you've had such an interesting life, career. You're actively doing some really cool stuff. I mean, for people who don't know, you are a very accomplished musician who has worked with, just amazing people. You've made some great music, and you're part of rock and roll. I mean, you're basically just kind of, I mean, if I was going to put pillars of rock and roll, you'd be one of the pillars. You've been so
Oh,
integral to so many aspects of it that
one of the unsung elements that you can't always put your finger on, but it's nonetheless an element that adds to the big soup, you know?
but I think that's what people don't realize. Like, there's the people that we always see up front, but then there's all these people that are actually really that are making things happen and motivating people and keeping it interesting and exciting and engaging and you've been on all sides of that.
I think I've worn every hat that's possible. I've been a Jill of all trades, and I've worn all hats. And I've walked at the side of genius. I've collaborated with genius. I've worked with genius. I've been very fortunate. Um, but the part about my life that's interesting is that I think I chose to come at a certain time. I think we choose when we come, because I can't imagine my life without Mick Jagger, for instance. I can't imagine my life without the British invasion or without rock and roll. I think I purposely wanted to be here for all of that, much more than 50s rock and roll. I resonated with Elvis Presley and things like that, and Chuck Berry. But what really grabbed me was when I was 10 years old. So I just turned 70. So that means that for 60 years of my entire life, I've thought about and looked at a photograph and heard the music of the Rolling Stones. And I was realizing when Mick turned 80 that we're all probably going to go together, and I wouldn't want it any other way. To be alive when Bowie was alive and when Prince was alive. I liken that to the people that were lucky enough to witness Liszt and Chopin. And
Mm.
I'm yakking, I'm sorry.
No, it's wonderful because I really do think, like, I was born in 68. And so I love being able to call myself a child of the 60s. And then I have the excuse of, like, well, no one else remembered them either, right?
Well,
Um,
my husband was born in 66, so I understand. I was already 13 when he was born, so
okay.
I get it.
Yeah, but it is. I think that, growing up with all that incredible music you were just referencing I assume that was going to be the normal going forward, that we would just, like, rock and roll was just going to get better and more exciting and more profound. And what I didn't realize was that there was a golden age that we were living through.
Well, I think certain souls came in at a certain time collectively. I'm a Dolores Cannon fanatic, so I believe we choose our lives and that we work out our karma, here on Earth. Earth is the learning planet. But obviously, a bunch of souls came in at the same time because it'll never be duplicated. And there just will never be another Jimi Hendrix. I don't care how many people there are like him or that have some of his essence. There just will never be anybody like him again. It's unbelievable. But I do believe that good music keeps going. Like I love Starcrawler.
I haven't heard
I,
of them.
oh, you've got to.
I'll
I
check them
love
out.
them. Arrow to Wild. I love some of the new bands, and shoot me, but I love the Struts. They're a great live band. I've seen them a million times, from when they were young
Cool.
to now, and well, they're still young, but when they were really babies, I think I saw their first show. It's just either you're a good band or you aren't a
Yeah.
good band, and there's some good music. There really is some good stuff happening, and I try to stay open, but I don't try to duplicate. I know it will never
Yeah.
ever be like that again.
Yeah, no, well put. Now you mentioned Dolores. Tell me the name Dolores.
Dolores Cannon.
Can you tell me about?
If you even search her on Instagram, a whole bunch of her tapes will come up.
Okay.
She's a seer, a psychic and a hypnotist, and she regressed people into their past lives. She was a very fascinating woman. She died in 2014, but her teachings are brilliant. And I think if more people would look at the spiritual parts of their lives, you can still be punk rock. You can still love the craziness of all the crazy, but you can still have an enlightened viewpoint about the value of our soul. And we put so much emphasis on just the surface, and the soul is very powerful. This is just our little suit we've got on, our little skin suit.
Oh my God, that's so. I always refer to my skin suit.
Well, that's funny.
Like
That's
I'm
my
just
next
visiting, and
single.
this is the
I
suit I'm
just
wearing right now. And
Isn't that funny? I just wrote a song called Skin Suit, and it's my next single.
oh my God, how cool!
It's all about what we're talking about. But it's like my relationship with Ginger. I believe in karma, and she's from Iowa, and so is my dad, and who was born in 1919. But I've known Ginger for so long, decades now. So my bond with Ginger and Punk Loeb, I never forget how old Punk Loeb is, because Punk Loeb and my daughter were born on the same year,
Oh, I love it.
1977. Yeah,
That's a great year to come into being.
it's a good one. And you're lucky. My husband was lucky. My daughter was lucky. She could still play outside in the 80s. I mean, you could stay out until the sun went down and not worry about your kids. It was a different time.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I remember as a kid, it's like we'd get up, we'd have breakfast, we'd go out all day. If blood was involved, we'd figure out how to clean it off before we got home, so nobody asked any questions. And as long as we
Well,
were,
if it was a serious blood, you'd go to your mom and she'd fix you up,
oh yeah,
right?
yeah. But I mean, most problems we just fixed on our own.
Yeah,
And but we did.
exactly.
I think it was a really different way of engaging with the world. I mean, we would go to libraries, we would go to parks, we would go just wherever we wanted to, and we kind of had our lives, they had their lives, and it seems like
Exactly. And 77 was important, because even though to me punk rock was born in the early 70s with the
yeah.
MC5 and Iggy Pop, I'm not one of those people that think it was born on the Lower East Side or even in England.
No, I agree. I
You know,
think also, have you heard the band Death from Detroit? Death?
Death,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I think
I
they're,
saw there was some documentary about them.
oh my God, they're amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
But I agree with you, is like that was like that Detroit, that energy, that essence was really just the
Yeah,
birthplace.
Iggy Pop is the godfather of punk, and
Absolutely.
I really believe that the Stooges and the MC5 are the ones that started that metallic sound, that evolved. And then the Ramones and the Sex Pistols just added the Chuck Berry part.
Oh my God,
which
I love it. Yes.
it's so crazy, but really the evolution of it is amazing. It's amazing that it is a genre, but it's more of I think more of an evolution and a spirit.
I agree. I do think almost punk rock, and I know a lot of punks would just would rebel against it, but I do feel like there's a spiritual element to punk rock.
Oh my God, are you kidding? I saw the Bad Brains. I saw JR. HR JR. What am I Ewing here? What am I watching? Dallas? No, I mean
Back when the
I
Bad Brains
saw
played Dallas, how's that?
I saw HR. I saw him fly. I
Yeah.
literally saw him do it.
Oh,
He would just be standing there singing, and suddenly he would be doing a flip without any kind of spring in his delivery. The
yeah.
guy was, I don't know if he was a shaman or some kind of a mystic, but HR could literally sort of fly. He could do these amazing flips
Oh.
just standing there. It was quite quite amazing. To me, that's a spiritual experience.
Oh yeah. No, I've had and I have to say there's been a lot of times with music where I've just been just where I'm completely present and everything else disappears because like their spirit and my spirit are just engaged with each other.
Exactly. Well, that's the beauty of music. And that's why I know it's got to be universal on all planets, because they're hearing music with these big fancy telescopes now. They're hearing all kinds of sounds. So I think music is the one universal thing that ties us all together, that and our soul. But oh yeah, people say things like music saved my life. And well, that's probably a pretty broad statement, and it probably is true for a lot of people.
Well, I gotta say, as somebody who grew up in the Midwest, and I started playing in punk rock bands when I was about 15 or 16, and it was the thing that captured the what I felt inside.
Yes.
I finally found an avenue that helped me express those feelings.
Yes. Childhood is it's what you're influenced by is incredibly important, and that's the same with my husband. He learned how to play guitar when he was around 13. His mother and father gave him a guitar, but it was Pete Marshall who he met when he was 15, and he also met Jesse Malin and that Brooklyn and Queens crowd when he was around 15. See, where my husband grew up, they could take the bus into the city and be into the city in 15 minutes. And his mother, as soon as he became a teenager, his mother let him go into the city by himself.
Nice.
And then when he went to NYU, he stayed in the dorm. He shared a dorm room with Rick Rubin. And even though Rick was a senior and
Oh my God.
Jim was a freshman, but he witnessed all that Beastie Boys stuff and Run
Wow.
DMC. He saw it all from his perspective, and it's funny because the first songs he learned how to play were punk rock songs, but Pete Marshall taught him how to play guitar, basically. He taught himself too, but taught
Yeah.
him his first chords. And Pete Marshall went on to play with Iggy Pop, both on bass and guitar for
Nice.
10 years, for a decade. But we're all connected. We're all connected. But the band my husband formed, Das Damen, they became, you know, industry darlings to some extent because Thurston Moore signed them to Ecstatic Peace. And that was when Sonic Youth and all of those bands were really, really happening. So everything sort of is born from the aggression and the anger, but yet the spiritual aspect of all of it's entwined. Everybody goes, oh, punk was so angry, and so it wasn't really. It was just testosterone, teenage aggression. I don't know if estrogen it shows itself the same way, but testosterone has fueled a lot of art. Let's put it that way.
Well,
I,
and I think it's, just to piggyback off that, I think it's what we were talking about earlier, the skin suits is, I think a lot of it is
yeah,
our spirits, our souls trying to go like, how do I use this thing?
Right.
And when we find ways to be creative, then we actually get to express aspects of like our true selves, like who
Right.
we are.
And
Sometimes they come up.
then you realize that gender is just really a hormone. It has nothing to do with anything else. Our spirit can be one thing, our soul can be another, our body can be another. We're very multifaceted, and we have to start looking at all the different dimensions of being on this earth, all the different humans. And I'm one of those people that believe that at some point there were blue people with 6 arms.
Could be. I
Who knows? You see enough drawings and enough deities that say that. So I don't ignore all the possibilities that we're just one of the many, 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 many life forms. And it's also fascinating. Who would have thought we would spend our interview for Punk Globe talking about punk and spirituality, the marriage of punk and spirituality?
But it's a beautiful thing, you know. It is, and I love this because I think you've also pointed out, hit on another thing too. Is I know for me, as the longer I'm on this planet in this physical space, the more fluid my sense of self, identity, and reality have become, and I love
Yeah.
that. And I think
Well,
that,
yeah,
you know, I think it's one of the gifts of living in a space like this.
exactly. I think so too. And I just think it's eternally important to just keep figuring it out and discovering. That's why I always recommend people go into the Dolores Cannon wormhole. Just
I'm
let
definitely gonna
yourself
check it
fall
out.
in, because if you'll relate immediately, you will relate immediately. So, any good questions
Well,
since I've taken us off the beaten path?
but you know, I never want to be on the beaten path very long because I find that that's already been seen and done. So I'm glad we went where we did. I'm really glad for
Yes.
this. Um, and I just want to put a pitch out there. I mean, if people want to learn more about you and your life, is um, you know, they should really pick up your earlier book, which is Rebel Heart. That's
Yeah,
what
just
it's
Rebel
called.
Heart.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would suggest, you know, I mean, I think you've had such a cool life that I think people should go read that and explore that and
Well, that was my first book, and that was 22 years ago. My book came out right before 9/11, so I never forget. It came
okay.
out the summer before 9/11, and then the paperback came out a year later in the summer of 2002. So it's been 21 years, and my newest book, Rebel Soul, is out now. and
Okay.
and I feel that, yeah, you should read them in order: Rebel Heart, Rebel Soul. um it's musings, music, and magic, or music, magic, and music. What is it? Musings, music, and magic. That's it. Rebel Soul, musings, music, and magic. A lot of M's. But you know, I felt the need to sort of, when COVID was going on, I felt the need to stay creative, because you know, I'm not the kind of person that can sit still too well. And I started to just really put the finishing touches on a book I had been already working on for several years, with ideas and trigger points, etc. So I just decided to finish it during COVID, and I did. And I also made a lot of other decisions about how I wanted to publish the book, because it had so many of my personal photos,
Mhm.
things that belong to me, archival, personal stuff. So I went through Hozak, which is one of the coolest companies. You should Google it, everybody. That's HO capital ZAC, is Hozak, and it's all one word, even though it's a capital H and a capital Z. Hozak Records and Books. Um, you know, like Third Man, it's not just records, it's books too, but they put out a lot of cool stuff. I loved doing this journey with them, and doing the book with them. And you can get it on Amazon. you can go to the link in my bio on Instagram. Instagram is my preferred social media, everybody. Yes, I have a Twitter or an X or whatever you call it account. I have a Facebook, music and personal. The music has a blue check, so you can follow that one. But as far as my one that I relate to on a daily basis and that I identify with my fans, it's Instagram, and that's Real Bebe Buell. REALBEBE. Yes,
There it is.
BUELL. That's me,
All
the
right.
girl with the flowers growing out of her face. Um, so that's where you can really keep up with my goings ons, my life in Nashville. I've been here for 10 years, almost 11 years now. Um, so that's how I communicate. And so yes, my new book filled in any of the questions people had after they read Rebel Heart. I also wrote Rebel Soul completely 100% alone,
Mhm.
although I want to thank my editor Mitchell Cohen, and who was once a very powerful A&R guy, and he worked for Clive Davis for 12 years. So it was very strange to have him, edit my book. I adore him. He's a brainiac. But you need an editor, but I didn't need a co-writer. I'm not dissing my co-writer, but the first time around I wrote with somebody else. Now, the difference between a ghostwriter and a co-writer is that a ghostwriter doesn't get credit. A co-writer actually writes the book with you. They contribute. So sometimes your voice gets lost. And that was my only complaint about Rebel Heart, was that it was vague in a lot of respects. You really had to know the full story to get the full story, because you've only got a certain amount of pages that a publisher allows. That book was on St. Martin's Press, and this one's on Hozak, and I have enjoyed that artistic freedom to really, write this book myself and not be interfered with. That was important to me. And so that's that. So get my book, you guys.
Let me ask you a
You
quick question about this. Do any of your books go on Audible?
see, now this is it. I am actually going to go in very soon and do an audio book for Rebel Soul.
So you'll actually read
Um,
it for us.
I will do it myself,
I
and
would
I'm going
love
to
that.
go, huh?
I would love that.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Well, that's what I'm going to do. That's my next feat. And my publisher and I are talking about it doing Kindle as well. So far we've done 2 pressings of hardcover, and I guess the third will be a paperback. So maybe when it goes to paperback, we'll also do Kindle and audio. So, but yes, I'm actually going to be recording it in my favorite studio in Nashville, Sound Emporium, in their sexy, sexy vocal room. And I'm going to go in there and I'm going to read the sucker and I'm going to do it.
Like I have to say, I love hearing an author read their work, especially when they're talking about themselves. My two favorites have been Rob Halford. If you
Mhm.
read his autobiography,
No, but I would love to. What a life.
oh, listen to it. Listen to it. It is such a great, because he narrates the whole thing, and he's hilarious. But I mean, just really an amazing person. The other one I really liked was Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden.
Oh, well, he's an amazing human being. Oh my God, he's a pilot, for God's
But
sake.
I don't know if you know this, but I saw them recently, and I didn't know this until after the show. But he recently recovered from tongue cancer,
Yep.
and he's still singing, which is just, I mean, I was in awe.
I don't even know how he got lung cancer. I heard he never smoked.
Oh, it was tongue cancer, but yeah,
Oh, tongue,
yeah, but I mean,
tongue.
that's like that.
Tongue and lungs sound too much alike.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I'd love to hear your voice reading your book, because there's
Oh,
something
thank
that
you.
it personalizes it, and it just makes it feel like it's like you're telling me your story, and I love that. I just,
Well, also you get the emotion that went along with, sometimes the written word can be a little cold
yeah.
and impersonal, so it's interesting. I'm getting ready to go read my book, and I'm getting ready to make a new single. I'm excited.
Cool. And now you mentioned, I know that you mentioned there's a new book you're working on, or is that coming out now, Nashville?
Well, no, I'm just writing that.
Okay. Do
The,
you want to
the
talk
next
about that
book,
at all?
it's about animal reincarnation. I know that sounds complex and crazy, but how
Not
many
at all.
times have you had a pet and that pet passes away, and then you sort of fall into your next pet, but yet there's things about that pet that remind you so much of your last pet that you sometimes wonder, are animals reincarnated just like people? They just have shorter lives. They're sort of here as our spirit guides. They're here as our comfort. We should never underestimate the power of the canine and the feline soul. It's very powerful. I decided to write a book about it. I don't want to give away too much of my personal experiences, but I've had my own personal experiences with this phenomenon to the point where I decided that I'm writing a book about it, and I don't even care who the publisher is yet. I think I know where I'm going to take it. I'm finishing the book before I even shop it. I'm just going to write that. It's some people will see it as fiction, but it's nonfiction, and for me it's metaphysics. So I'm not going to look at it as fiction. Some people look at metaphysics as fiction. If
I'm a
you've had
student of metaphysics, so I totally understand. It's
Yeah, but if you've had a personal experience, it becomes nonfiction. If it's your
yeah.
experience, if this happened to you. And so I'm definitely very, very wrapped up in this. And then the next book after that will be the photo book that we've been trying to get done for years. I've got a couple of coffee table type publishers that want to do a coffee table photo book, and I would write the captions for that. So my creative juices are flowing, and I'm continuing to keep active and keep busy. The Rock and Roll Residency, which is a cool band that I sing with a lot here in Nashville, is back. They had been gone for a while. Now they're back. So on September 27th, I'm going to get up and do a couple of songs with the Rock and Roll Residency at the East Side Bowl here in East Nashville. And what else am I doing? Oh my God, the big one, November. I'm returning to the National Arts Club in New York City. I've been invited back
Oh,
again,
cool.
which is an incredible honor. I guess it takes getting a little older to be invited to do those kind of honorable things. My next challenge is I've got to graduate properly. I graduated from high school, but I skipped the procession or the ceremony because I was such a rebel back then. I thought it was like Squaresville to graduate with your class. And now I really regret that. I made sure Liv graduated cap and gown with her class and went to her prom, where I poo-pooed the prom and I poo-pooed my graduation, and I really regret that. But since then, I've been to about 5,000 proms, so I got that out of my system.
There we go.
And but I've always wished I had actually graduated with my class. I might spend part of my 70s going back to school. Not high school, but going back to school, getting a degree of some sort. I would love to. I would love to study again. I know it might sound wackadoo, but
No, I mean, I was in my mid late 30s when I went back to school, and it was the most amazing thing I ever could have done because I really wanted to learn
yeah.
and I wanted to be there, and it was thrilling. So I totally get that.
And when I was in high school and when I was a little kid, they didn't know what ADHD was, and they didn't know, what dyslexia was really. And plus, I was left-handed. And when you go to
Oh
Catholic
yeah.
school and you're left-handed, you might as well be, the devil himself, because being left-handed so taboo in Catholicism. But I was all those things. But so I kind of rebelled. But the one subject I was really good at and I got straight A's in was English literature. Everything else I had a hard time with because of my inability to concentrate. But now through self-training, I am so good with numbers. I balance the checkbook. I do all the hands-on kind of figures. If somebody wants to have their books looked over to see, get a third eye on there, hand them to me. I have some gift. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because if I did this with anything else, it would be hard for me. Dyslexia and ADHD are very interesting because you can conquer both of them with discipline and giving yourself challenges. Plus, I try to do 3 crossword puzzles a day.
Wow.
And I conquer the New York Times on Sunday. These are all things that help you to really get all of that sorted out. And my daughter has dyslexia as well. And I know she wouldn't mind me mentioning it. And because she conquered it in ways that it was hard for her in school sometimes, but give her a page of dialogue in a script, and she only has to study that page for about 5 minutes. And her brain takes some kind of a mental snapshot and she knows that page. So our power and our superpowers and our strengths, here we go back to the spiritual part of who we are, lie in some of the strangest nooks and crannies. You know what I mean? And I was always so proud of Liv with that she was able to master that. That's part of her craft, memorization. And now numbers. I love numbers. I just love them. And in school, I hated them. But now I love them. I will always love English literature. So that will never change.
Nice. Well, I'm excited about your Nashville book too. My dog is sleeping on my foot right now as we're talking. So, and I often talk to her about, our life journey together. I'm like, I can't wait to see what happens after this part of our lives,
And yeah, and sometimes you can get the same soul, the same spirit for 3 or 4 lives in your, I've had the same dog now 3 times. And I'm going to be very open to the 4th because I know that I'm not meant to walk the rest of my life without my familiar. Yeah. What do we call them? What is that fabulous show that was on for a while where they were called our demons? I guess demon took a different word, a different meaning in this particular show. It was about that girl that traveled all over the place. So what was the name of that show? Oh, darn it. I wish I could remember it, but I'm tied up in Carnival Row right now. But anyway, animal reincarnation, I think, is just as real as human reincarnation. I think everything gets reincarnated, everything. I think you have to be the soil and a tree and all kinds of things before you can be a human. And that's how I look at the food chain, not as stuff that you eat, but as the evolution of the soul. Once you are human, you've reached the top of your food chain here on earth. What you do with that knowledge and that gift is up to you. But I can't eat animals anymore. It's been impossible for me to eat animals for over 20 years. I just can't. And some animals I haven't eaten for 40 years.
I just, I mean, one of the really big takeaways I'm getting from you is just about the importance of living a conscious life.
Yeah. I mean, animals, they have a lifespan, a soul, an evolution. They have families, they have friends, they have social pecking orders, they create communities. You know, all you have to do is look into an animal's eyes to
Yeah.
know. Um, they're no different than us. And look at seals and dolphins and whales. These are all just people in different forms. That's the way I look at it. We're all just human. I don't think human just means us.
Yeah. No, I kind of see everything as just different forms of spirit. And
Yep.
so,
And we're only different colors depending on where we're located near the how close we are to the equator. That is really the simple. This isn't rocket science. Your skin is darker if you're exposed to more sun, and that's God's way of protecting your skin and taking care of you. And how there could be such ignorance, I'm it baffles me.
yeah. Well, I think people have forgot. I think people get more caught up in the physical world and forget there's anything else. And
Oh yeah, well, things are going to have to change because if you watch your Dolores Cannon videos, you'll see that we're shifting from a 3D to a 5D world. And I really believe that that's happening. I believe that I think we're living it. I think we are amongst some of the very special privileged people that are going to witness this change. I'm very excited what the next decade holds because I think all the confusion about aliens and all the other nonsense that we've been questioning, it's all going to get answered. We're all going to hear the solutions, and the theories will no longer be theories or hypotheses. It'll be real. And as far as music goes, music will always be the great communicator and the great healer. And I will always love punk rock, and I will always love rock and roll and rock. I love country music. I love all kinds of music. I look at it this way. If it's a good song, it's a good song. I don't care about the genre. It's all about the song.
oh yeah, one of the best shows I ever saw was Johnny Cash. I mean, that was
Oh, well, Johnny Cash doing a Trent Reznor song, Johnny Cash doing Hurt, is,
genius.
is probably one of the most profound moments ever captured. Um, he really knew how to take a song and make it his own.
Yeah.
But, it's just unbelievable when you think about it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Well, this has been so much fun, and I'm super excited about the Nashville book. I think my dog and I will read it together, and we'll talk about it. Because I'm
Oh, well, of course you'll read it together. You're supposed to talk to your pets and don't think they don't understand you.
oh, I know she
And
does.
anybody and people should never call a bird, say it has no brains. Birds are the only animal that can learn our language and 20 other languages.
Oh, trust me, I live by the ocean. There's ravens all over, and they are so smart. It's almost scary. I mean, it's
And if they like you, they'll bring you presents.
yeah.
They'll bring you bling, bling, bling every day.
If they don't
I've,
like
I've,
you, though,
I,
they harass you pretty hard too. I mean, they're very smart.
I know I had two of them. I had two that lived at our house in New Jersey, and I had two that lived in my backyard when we first moved here. I even gave them names, Cameron Crow and Russell Crow. But I fed them and they would come back to see me, and they kept their distance, but then they stopped keeping their distance. They would come closer and closer and closer. And then they started to bring me little shiny things. It was very, very sweet. But they started to bring me all the baby's toys that lived a few houses down. And I started to realize, oh, wait a minute. They're taking the baby's toys.
Oh,
So I had to return some stuff. But yeah, they are very fascinating and beautiful. Now I've got a bunch of cardinals and robins, and rabbits. I've got some rabbits now too. But anyway, animals are very important to me.
Yeah.
And,
Well, hey, thank you so much for the time you've taken with us today. This has been amazing. And
and I want to say, with my glasses off and with my fix my hair for Ginger, happy, happy, happy birthday, Punk Globe. Number 46, Punk Globe. Okay.
I
Happy
love it.
birthday, Punk Globe.
Oh, thanks, BB.
Happy
That's
birthday, Punk Globe. Mwah. Mwah. See you
thank you.
later, Eric.
All right. See you, BB. Thanks so much.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye-bye.